Welcome back, gentle traveler. You've opened your eyes not to the day, but to the memory of day itself, the soft warmth that lingers even when night has settled, the echo of sunlight still breathing in the air around you. Tonight, the sleepy space will guide you, not through shadow, but through radiance, the quiet heart of our solar system, the Sunday. You may think of the sun as a blaze, a roar of fire that demands attention, but that's not quite true. At this distance, from the safe stillness of our tiny blue world, her fury becomes grace. Her soundless waves of light become a lullaby that stretches across space, touching oceans, leaves, and the surface of your skin. If you close your eyes now, you can still feel it. The warmth that built every color, the rhythm that raised every tide, the heartbeat of light that turns chaos into time. The sun is not a single flame. She is a symphony of fusion, atoms colliding so gently and so constantly that the glow you feel on your face tonight was born in her core more than 30,000 years ago. It took that long for one photon to weave through her dense body, rising slowly toward the surface, only to leap across the vast black sea and touch your eyelids in less than 8 minutes. Every morning, when sunlight spills through your window, you are being touched by something ancient, a traveler of light, older than memory, finally arriving at its destination. You. So breathe in that thought. Let your breath match the pace of her light. Slow, steady, endless. For the next little while, we'll drift together through 50 gentle facts about this quiet furnace, the golden pulse of existence, the mother of gravity, warmth, and life. And as her glow shimmers faintly through the edge of your mind, you'll see she isn't there to awaken you. She's here to soothe you, reminding you that even fire can be kind. If you were to look at the sun from space, not with your eyes, but with understanding, you would see no flames, no crackling fire, no combustion like the kind that consumes a forest or a candle. The sun is not burning, she is becoming. Her warmth, the light that fills your days and softens your mornings, comes not from flame, but from fusion, a slow, silent act of creation deep within her heart. Every second, more than 600 million tons of hydrogen merge into helium in her core, releasing energy so immense it ripples outward through layers of gas, light, and gravity. Imagine that for a moment. Atoms, too small for the eye, colliding with such grace that they give birth to sunlight. It takes 30,000 years for that light to drift from her dense core to her surface, passing through walls of plasma as thick as time itself. But once it escapes, it travels 93 million miles to Earth. In just 8 minutes and 20 seconds, a journey from the heart of a star to the warmth on your cheek. The sleepy scientist speaks softly. She doesn't burn what she touches. She breathes energy into what listens. There is no sound in her heart, but if you could translate her motion into music, you'd hear vibrations, a low, resonant hum that rolls like the ocean. Her pulse sings in millions of frequencies, from ultraviolet whispers to radio waves so long they stretch beyond imagination. And somehow, from that silent song, everything you know was born. Every tree, every thought, every heartbeat is borrowed, sunlight slowed into matter. The next time you see daylight filtering through leaves, remember, it began as a quiet fusion deep within her, a rhythm of atoms learning how to hold each other. So when you feel warmth spread across your skin, you're not just being lit, you're being remembered. And deep inside that golden core, something more astonishing still happens. The sun's light doesn't shine evenly. It ripples like breath, pulsing through her layers like a living being. Though we cannot hear it with ears, the sun has a heartbeat. Her surface moves in quiet rhythm, rising and falling in waves so vast they could swallow Earth 1,000 times over. Astronomers call this phenomenon helioseismology, the study of sound waves traveling through the sunday. These aren't sounds like our voices or storms. They're oscillations of plasma rippling through her glowing body, just as vibrations hum through a bell after it's struck. Every ring of her surface tells scientists something about her interior, the same way a physician listens to the rhythm beneath a chest. And like any living pulse, her rhythm is never constant. Sometimes her surface breathes quickly, bursting with activity and light. Other times it slows, her energy folding inward into a quieter, more reflective phase. Every 11 years, she completes one full heartbeat, her magnetic fields reversing, her surface transforming, her storms reawakening. The sleepy scientist whispers, even stars need time to rest and time to begin again. It's strange to think of a star as patient, but that's exactly what she is. Her surface trembles, not in violence, but in rhythm, a cosmic inhale and exhale that has gone on for 4.6 billion years. Sometimes her waves create sunquakes, tremors that ripple across her face for hours after a solar flare. They are beautiful from afar, rings of gold expanding across her surface, like a pebble dropped into an ocean of light. So the next time you feel your pulse slow, before sleep, imagine hers doing the same. A soft rhythm beneath the black sea of space, steady and luminous. You are, in a very real way, sleeping in time with a star. And yet, even a gentle star has storms, flares, and tempests so vast that they can shake planets, bend light, and send the night sky into brilliant chaos. There are times when the sun, so serene from our distance, erupts. From her surface rise towering arcs of plasma, loops of light taller than worlds, twisting in magnetic fields, before collapsing back in waves of flame. These are solar flares and coronal mass ejections, bursts of charged particles that leap across space at nearly the speed of light. To the eye, they are breathtaking, curls of gold unraveling into the dark, filaments of fire moving with impossible grace. But their power is unimaginable. One eruption can release more energy than every explosion on Earth combined, and yet they make no sound. The sun's violence is silent. Her storms travel not through air, but through magnetism, invisible currents that sweep across the solar system, brushing against planets, touching satellites, and dancing along Earth's poles. As auroras, when those charged particles meet our atmosphere, they paint the sky in green, violet, and rose, curtains of moving light, rippling like dreams across the night. Every aurora is a love letter from the sun, a reminder of her touch, even from 93 million miles away. The sleepy scientist smiles faintly. Even her tempests end in beauty. What looks like destruction from afar is also creation, a release, a renewal, the sun reminding herself that even stability must breathe, and when her storms subside, the solar wind resumes its calm flow, a gentle tide of particles, constant and life-giving, wrapping Earth in an invisible cocoon of energy. So when you see the northern lights shimmer, know that you are witnessing a conversation older than speech, the Earth and the sun, speaking in color. But beyond the flares and fire lies the quiet architecture of her light, the delicate dance of color, hidden in every sunrise and every fading glow. To your eyes, the sun seems gold, a soft, steady brilliance that fills the day with warmth. But in truth, her light holds every color there is, and many more that you cannot see. White, not yellow, that's her true hue. From space, where no atmosphere bends her rays, the sun shines pure and colorless, a perfect blend of every wavelength at once. It is Earth's sky that does the painting. Our air scatters the shorter, bluer light, so that daylight feels golden and twilight blushes red. What you see as a sunset is not the sun changing color, it's the air filtering her voice. Each layer of atmosphere removes another note, leaving only the longest, deepest tones. By the time she touches the horizon, she glows like an ember, cooling slowly in water. Yet beyond what our eyes can detect, she sings in ultraviolet and infrared, wavelengths invisible but essential. Ultraviolet, the sculptor of life; infrared, the keeper of warmth. Together, they weave the threads of growth and comfort that make Earth's surface what it is. The sleepy scientist's voice softens, as if translating light into sound. She is not a single color, but the memory of all colors. Even the green of leaves, the blue of oceans, the brown of soil. They exist because of the way her light interacts with matter. Every hue on Earth is a reflection of her whisper. Imagine lying beneath a tree at noon. The light that flickers through the leaves has already been filtered 1,000 times through atmosphere, cloud, chlorophyll, and still it glows softly enough to warm your skin without pain. That gentleness is her gift, a star's energy made tender by distance and air, a 1,000,000-degree furnace transformed into something you can rest beneath. But light is more than color. It's also life's heartbeat, and deep inside her radiance, the sun sends out the energy that shapes every breath you take. Every breath you take is a continuation of a journey that began 93 million miles away. The oxygen in your lungs, the sugar in your blood, the rhythm of your heartbeat, all trace their origin to sunlight. Plants, quiet architects of life, capture her energy through photosynthesis. That word that sounds so clinical, yet describes something sacred. Each leaf holds tiny green machines that turn light into nourishment, splitting water and air into food and oxygen. Every molecule of sugar ever formed, every puff of air ever breathed, is sunlight slowed into matter. When you inhale, you are not just breathing oxygen, you are breathing light, recycled through forests and oceans, carried across centuries of growth and decay. The sleepy scientist murmurs, with awe disguised as calm, "The sun is the ancestor of your breath." Even at night, her rhythm continues. Plants you cannot see release the oxygen they built in day, and your lungs respond in gratitude. You exhale carbon dioxide, and that too returns to them, completing the circle. It's a dance so ancient that life itself has forgotten to question it. The sun gives energy, Earth transforms it, you inherit it, and when you close your eyes, your body glows faintly in infrared, releasing the same warmth that once streamed from her surface. Every living being is a spark of sunlight, on temporary loan. So, when dawn comes tomorrow, and the first light brushes your skin, remember what your body already knows. You're not separate from the day. You are the day. And just as she breathes life into your body, the sun also breathes energy into the winds and waves, shaping weather, seasons, and the quiet rhythm of Earth itself. If the Earth were unlit, the air would stand still, the oceans would rest, and the word season would have no meaning. It is the sun who teaches the planet to move. When her rays strike the ground, they warm the air unevenly. Oceans absorbing, mountains reflecting, deserts drinking the light too quickly. That uneven warmth becomes motion, hot air rising, cold air sinking, winds beginning their endless drift. From those winds, clouds form. From those clouds, rain. From that rain, rivers. And from rivers, life. Every gust, every storm, every drop of water falling through the sky is an echo of her light's distribution. Without her, the seas would freeze in stillness, and the atmosphere would hang heavy and grey, lifeless as glass. The sleepy scientist explains gently, like a lullaby made of understanding. Weather is the Earth's way of remembering sunlight. Even time itself is born from her motion. Our days are defined by her rising and setting. Our years by our planet's gentle orbit around her. Every calendar ever made is an imitation of her patience. The tilt of Earth's axis, a small, beautiful imperfection, turns her light into seasons. Summer is proximity, winter is retreat, and spring, that tender return, is the reunion of warmth and life. When you feel a breeze across your face, you are feeling sunlight in motion. When you listen to rain, you are hearing her energy softened into sound. The entire planet's pulse is an expression of her steady radiation. So rest now, knowing that even while you sleep, the winds continue to weave her warmth across the oceans and valleys, carrying her presence through the quiet night. And yet, for all her giving, the sun herself is mortal, not in years as we know them, but in epochs measured by light and silence. The sun feels eternal, so constant, so faithful, that it's hard to imagine a time without her. And yet, even she has a story with a beginning, a middle, and, one distant day, an end. She was born about 4.6 billion years ago, in the quiet collapse of a cloud of gas and dust, left behind by stars far older than herself. That cloud swirled and tightened under gravity's patience, spinning faster as it fell inward, until the pressure grew so immense that hydrogen atoms began to fuse and light bloomed for the first time. In that single act of ignition, the sun became a star, a self-sustaining engine of energy and balance. Around her, the remaining dust gathered into planets. From her warmth, Earth's oceans were born. From her gravity, the solar system learned its order. Today, she rests in middle age, a main sequence star, burning quietly, steadily, and beautifully stable. Every second, she loses 4 million tons of her mass, converted into light and warmth, and sent drifting through the cosmos. And yet, she shows no sign of dimming. The sleepy scientist's voice is calm, reverent. She's halfway through her song, and every note is still perfect. She will shine like this for about 5 billion more years before her hydrogen runs thin. Then she'll begin to change, her core shrinking, her outer layers expanding, her color deepening from white to gold to red. She will become a red giant, swallowing Mercury and Venus, brushing close to Earth, with waves of light so vast they could melt mountains. But that is far, far in the future, long after our seas have evaporated and our atoms have drifted elsewhere. By then, the light she once gave us will have become the dust that forms new stars. She will end as she began, not in flame, but in scattering, and from her remnants, another light will rise. But even before that faraway future, the sun is already changing, her surface alive with storms and scars, patterns that trace the rhythm of her age. Look at the sun through a special telescope, and you'll see she is not smooth. She boils, she ripples, she dances. Her surface, called the photosphere, is a field of constant motion. Millions of tiny cells called granules, each one as wide as France, rising and falling like slow breath. Hot plasma wells up from below, cools as it reaches the surface, and sinks again. A convection of brilliance that never ceases. To the human eye, those motions merge into stillness. But in truth, the sun is never still. She seethes softly, her light shimmering like silk, drawn across an ocean of heat. Sometimes, dark spots appear. Sunspots, cooler regions, where magnetic fields twist and tangle. They look like shadows on her face, but they are signs of energy building beneath. When those magnetic knots snap, they unleash flares that leap millions of kilometers into space, the same storms that later bloom on Earth's poles. As auroras, the sleepy scientist murmurs, half in awe, half in affection. Even her imperfections are radiant. Over an 11-year cycle, the number of sunspots waxes and wanes, like the breath of the star itself. At solar maximum, her surface teems with activity. Loops of plasma, arches of light, and threads of motion that weave across her skin, like embroidery of gold. At solar minimum, she rests. Her storms quiet, her light steadies, her skin smooths into calm, like the surface of a sleeping sea. Even the most constant star has rhythms of rest and renewal. So when you see sunlight dapple through leaves, remember, it comes from a living surface, a place of perpetual movement, where creation and calm are two sides of the same grace. But what you see on her surface is only the beginning. For deep beneath, the sun hides a mysterious current, a river of light that flows unseen. Beneath her bright skin, the sun holds oceans you cannot see, not of water, but of plasma, flowing with the weight and rhythm of eternity. These currents move slowly, circulating heat and magnetism through layers so vast that a single loop takes decades to complete. Scientists call it the solar dynamo, a great, invisible engine that generates the magnetic field, protecting the solar system. Imagine it, a churning interior of superheated hydrogen and helium, densities so thick that light itself must crawl, rising, falling, spiraling. In an endless ballet of convection, these rivers feed her surface storms, guide her flares, and shape the polarity of her magnetic field. They are the heartbeat beneath the heartbeat. Every few years, the currents twist upon themselves, reversing the sun's magnetic poles. North becoming south, south becoming north. It is as if she turns herself inside out, renewing her balance. The sleepy scientist whispers. She renews herself by inversion, by remembering what she is not. That quiet inversion sustains her stability. Without it, the sun would grow chaotic, her light erratic, her warmth unpredictable. Even a star, in all her brilliance, must learn to flow inward, to turn her forces around, to find equilibrium in reversal. And maybe that's her hidden lesson for us. To glow endlessly, you must let your energy circulate, not in a straight line, but in a spiral, not outward forever, but inward too. So when the light falls across your face tomorrow, remember, it began as a ripple deep inside her, a river of fire and order, born in silence and carried outward by patience. And far beyond these hidden rivers, the sun's warmth reaches farther still, touching every planet, every moon, every drifting speck of dust that circles her in luminous devotion. Around the sun drifts a family, 8 planets, dozens of moons, asteroids, comets, and clouds of dust, all bound to her warmth, her gravity, her patience. Each one moves to her rhythm, spinning and circling in the quiet choreography of gravity. Mercury, closest to her heart, dances in blistering heat. Venus glows like a mirror of gold, wrapped in clouds of fire. Earth, her temperate child, turns steadily, close enough to feel love, far enough to survive it. Then come Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, each orbiting at its own distance, each holding its own silence. Even the icy edges of the solar system, where sunlight fades into black, still feel her pull, a whisper of gravity that keeps them from drifting away. The sun's light reaches all of them, but unevenly, like a mother's attention spread across time. She warms some intensely, barely brushes others, yet her influence never ends. Every planet's year, every moon's tide, every shadow that crosses a crater exists because of her constant pull. If she were to vanish, they would not drift gently away. They would fly, wild and unbound, into the empty dark. The sleepy scientist breathes softly, almost like a prayer. She does not command her family, she holds them. Even the comets that wander far beyond Pluto still return to her embrace. They spend centuries in exile, gathering ice and dust, then come roaring back toward her, tails blazing in gratitude, before slipping again into distance. It's a relationship older than memory, a slow waltz between gravity and motion. And in that rhythm, our solar system breathes. So when you see sunlight touch your world, know that it is shared light, part of an ancient bond that stretches across billions of kilometers, uniting every rock and drop of water in a single, endless orbit. But this light, as tender as it feels here, is only a fraction of her true power. For the sun's warmth is also her weapon, a force that shapes and sometimes threatens the worlds she loves. Every second, the sun releases more energy than humanity has produced in its entire history. The scale is almost unimaginable. In a single heartbeat of time, She emits 3.8 x 10 to the power of 26 watts of power, enough to illuminate 1 billion Earths. And yet, only a fraction of that reaches us. Her generosity is filtered by distance, her intensity softened by space. The process begins in her core, a realm of crushing gravity and unimaginable heat. More than 15 million degrees Celsius. Atoms of hydrogen fuse there, collapsing together to form helium, releasing pure energy in the form of photons. Those photons begin their long migration outward, bouncing off other particles billions of times, before finally escaping into the void. By the time they reach her surface, they've lost their violence, transformed into visible light, the kind that nurtures rather than destroys. The sleepy scientist whispers, even fury can become gentleness, given distance and time. If you could see the sun through special eyes, you'd find not one color but a chorus of them. Gamma rays, X-rays, ultraviolet, visible light, infrared, and radio waves, all born from that same fusion, each with its own purpose. Some heal, some destroy. Together, they form balance. Every beam of sunlight that touches Earth is ancient history in motion, the memory of atoms colliding, long before your lifetime, long before your species even breathed. And yet, it feels immediate. That warmth on your skin, that soft gold through curtains, that rhythm that wakes you without a word. The light you see this morning was born before there were humans to see it. It was born in patience, in pressure, in peace disguised as fire. But for all her strength, the sun is not invincible. Even stars grow old. And one day, her light will change into something so vast and beautiful it will remake the sky. Far into the future, 5 billion years or so, the sun will begin to change. Slowly, imperceptibly at first, her core will run low on hydrogen, the fuel that sustains her calm. As fusion falters, the balance between gravity and pressure will shift. Her core will shrink, growing hotter, while her outer layers expand outward, a blooming of fire. She will swell into a red giant, a sphere so vast that Mercury and Venus will vanish into her light, and Earth will glow at her edge, like a burning leaf in sunlight. But this will not be rage. It will be transformation. She will shed her outer layers, casting them gently into space, like petals from a dying flower. What remains will be her core, a white dwarf, small as Earth but dense beyond imagining, still glowing faintly, still whispering light. Around her, the gas she releases will expand into a planetary nebula, a cloud of color so vast that future beings, light years away, might look upon it and call it beautiful. The sleepy scientist's voice becomes a hush. Even endings can illuminate. When that day comes, the atoms forged in her heart, the carbon, oxygen, and iron, will drift across space, settling into new stars, new planets, new lives. Perhaps some of those atoms will one day form another being, on another world, looking up at another sun, and wondering who first dreamed of light. She will not truly die. She will disperse, and in doing so, she will give the universe more to work with, new ingredients for creation, new warmth for the next dawn. That is the sun's secret immortality, to end and still give. And even now, before that far future arrives, Her light continues to create miracles, not in the heavens, but here, in the smallest acts of life, under her gentle gaze. Every solid thing around you, every leaf, stone, and bone, exists because the sun forged its essence, not directly, but through the chain of stars that came before her. Long ago, in an earlier universe, ancient stars burned through their lives, fusing hydrogen into heavier and heavier elements: helium, carbon, oxygen, iron. When those first stars died, they scattered their ashes into space. From that dust, our sun was born. She is the heir to generations of fire. Every atom in your body was once part of a star's breath. The calcium in your bones was born in a stellar furnace. The iron in your blood once pulsed at the heart of a supernova. The sleepy scientist's tone softens like a lullaby of cosmic ancestry. You are sunlight that learned to slow down. The sun continues the work of her ancestors by keeping that light in motion. Through her energy, plants weave matter out of air. Animals eat those plants. And you, in turn, become the keeper of that transformation. In your body right now, countless tiny reactions mirror the great fusion happening in her core. You burn oxygen, release heat, convert energy into thought and movement. You are a smaller echo of her, a living reflection of solar balance. When sunlight touches your skin, your body responds in chemical whispers, producing warmth, melatonin, vitamin D. Your cells open like morning flowers, reminded of their origin. And so, every time you step into the light, you return home. It doesn't matter where you are: a crowded city, a mountain ledge, a quiet bedroom window. You are meeting the source of yourself. But this connection between you and the sun is more than physical. It is emotional, rhythmic, and ancient, woven into your very sense of time and meaning. Every heartbeat of your day is timed to her rise and fall. Even if you never glance toward the horizon, your body still listens to her rhythm. This is your circadian clock, an invisible metronome, set to the song of sunlight. When dawn arrives, light enters your eyes and tells your brain to wake. When evening comes and the sky dims to amber and violet, your body begins its descent into rest. Every hormone, every dream, every breath that slows as you drift towards sleep is part of this dance between darkness and light. The sleepy scientist murmurs, "You don't just live under the Sunday, you live with her." In ancient times, before clocks, before electricity, people measured life by sunlight. Work when she rose, rest when she sank. That rhythm left marks in our biology, our language, our stories. Even now, when cities glow through the night, your body still yearns for the gentleness of true dusk, the gradual fading that signals safety and surrender. The sun teaches you to breathe with the world. Her light awakens, her absence restores. She gives motion to stillness, and stillness to motion. Every evening, when her last rays brush the earth, your brain releases melatonin, a quiet invitation to rest. It's as though the sun herself tucks you into the darkness, assuring you that night is not the opposite of her. It's her companion. Tomorrow, she'll return, not as a demand, but as a promise, a slow, golden reminder that everything you need happens in rhythm. And beyond your sleep and waking, the sun's rhythm shapes something grander still. The seasons, the migrations, the heartbeat of the living earth itself. If you've ever felt the hush of winter, the surge of spring, the weight of summer heat, or the melancholy drift of autumn, you've felt the tilt of the earth. In conversation with the Sunday, our planet doesn't spin straight. It leans about 23.5 degrees, a small imperfection that creates the great poetry of the seasons. As Earth circles the sun, that tilt changes how her light falls upon us. In June, the northern hemisphere leans toward her, and daylight lingers longer than shadow. In December, it leans away, and the nights stretch deep and quiet. Between these extremes, spring and fall breathe softly, seasons of balance, where day and night share the sky equally. The sleepy scientist smiles in voice. Perfection doesn't create beauty, tilt does. Because of that tilt, flowers bloom and wither, birds migrate, oceans swell and calm. Cultures mark time by it. Harvests, holidays, songs written for solstice and equinox. Entire mythologies were born from watching the sun's position shift on the horizon. Without that small cosmic lean, Earth would be static. No rhythm, no change, no renewal. And so, when the first light of spring touches your face, or the low sun of autumn stretches the shadows long, remember, you are living inside a celestial conversation between motion and light. Every season is a gesture, the sun reaching out, the earth bowing back. And within that slow, endless waltz, every living thing learns to grow, to rest, and to begin again. But what happens to her warmth when it leaves our planet and travels deeper into space, beyond the orbit of Earth, where cold and silence wait, out beyond Earth's orbit, where shadows stretch unbroken, and silence has a weight of its own, the sun begins to fade, not because she grows weaker, but because light, like all gifts, dilutes as it travels. By the time her warmth reaches Jupiter, it is only 4% as strong as what we feel here on Earth. By Neptune, it's less than 1%, and yet, even there, in the kingdom of cold and methane skies, her glow still governs everything. The sleepy scientist's tone slows to a hush. She never disappears. She only softens. Imagine sunlight as a touch. Here, on Earth, it feels like skin, meeting skin. Warm, immediate, close enough to stir your breath. But farther out, it feels more like memory, like the warmth of someone you once knew, lingering faintly on your sleeve. Still, planets turn to her. Rings shimmer around Saturn. Icy moons reflect her faint gold, like mirrors in a cathedral of darkness. Even at Pluto's edge, where temperatures fall to -230 degrees Celsius, her light takes 6 hours to arrive. And when it does, it still casts a shadow. That faint shadow is one of the most haunting truths in the cosmos. No matter how far you go, you are never completely out of reach. Every photon, leaving the sun, travels outward forever, carrying her signature, a wavelength, a rhythm, a memory of where it began. And so, even in the black between galaxies, somewhere, someone, or something might feel the ghost of her warmth and know there was once a star here that loved her world enough to keep shining into the void. But even here, where light thins and sound dies, The sun's story continues, carried not just by heat, but by her wind, a silent stream of particles, flowing endlessly through space. The sun breathes, not with lungs, but with fields of plasma, rivers of charged particles, flowing outward in every direction. This is the solar wind, a ceaseless current of protons and electrons, traveling at nearly 1,000,000 miles per hour. It sweeps through the solar system like an invisible tide, shaping magnetic fields, eroding planetary atmospheres, and painting the night skies of Earth with the auroras we call northern and southern lights. Each gust of solar wind begins deep within her corona, that ethereal crown of white fire, visible only during an eclipse. The corona is hotter than the surface itself, a paradox that still puzzles science, as though her outermost breath burns with secret intention. When this wind collides with Earth's magnetic field, it wraps around the planet like silk meeting stone. Most of the particles are deflected, but some slip through the poles, striking oxygen and nitrogen, and setting the upper atmosphere alight. Emerald, violet, crimson, colors that ripple like curtains of heaven. The sleepy scientist speaks softly. What you see as beauty is really defense turned into art. Those dancing lights are proof that the sun's power can both threaten and bless. The same storms that paint auroras can also disrupt satellites, knock out power grids, and alter compasses. Even now, Earth's entire technological heartbeat depends on understanding her moods. Yet, it's humbling to think that every whisper of that magnetic wind connects us directly to her, a physical thread between our world and her luminous heart. You are breathing beneath her breath. Every signal your phone sends, every satellite orbiting above you, rides within her exhale. In that sense, we are all suspended in a storm of light and silence, held together by the rhythm of her unseen wind. And sometimes, the wind surges, bursting outward in colossal waves that ripple across planets and rewrite the sky. There are days when the sun loses her composure, when the magnetic fields that twist beneath her surface snap loose like coiled springs, and energy stored for months erupts in an instant. These are solar storms, coronal mass ejections, flares of blinding plasma that can stretch millions of kilometers long. A single eruption can release the energy of 1 billion atomic bombs. The sleepy scientist's voice is a calm counterpoint to this cosmic violence. Even in chaos, there is rhythm. From Earth, these storms look like flashes on the sun's face. But in space, they are tsunamis of fire, billowing waves of radiation and charged particles. When they reach us, they can tangle power lines, disrupt radio signals, even push auroras farther toward the equator, as if the heavens themselves decide to glow for everyone at once. The great storm of 1859, known as the Carrington event, was powerful enough to set telegraph wires aflame. If such a storm struck today, it could disable entire satellite networks and shut down modern civilization for hours or days. And yet, there is something strangely comforting about that raw force. It reminds us that we live in a delicate equilibrium, close enough to thrive, far enough to survive. The sun's tempests are her heartbeat, the pulse of her magnetic soul. Without them, the solar system would stagnate, motionless in its own calm. Through her storms, she renews her balance, just as the earth renews itself, through rain and thunder. To sleep under her light, knowing both her power and her restraint, is to rest in trust. A cosmic trust, older than life itself. And beneath these storms, beyond even the chaos of fire and plasma, there lies something quieter, a harmony so vast that even silence seems to hum. Everything in the solar system, from the smallest grain of dust to the mightiest planet, dances to the rhythm of the sun's gravity. It is not a pull, not in the way we imagine a hand grasping, but a persuasion, an invisible music that keeps the planets in their orbits, their movements precise, their paths eternal. The sun holds 99.8% of the solar system's mass. She is the axis of everything. Without her, Mercury would shoot into the void, Venus would drift blind, and Earth would fall into freezing silence. Her gravity is gentle yet absolute. It teaches every planet how to move. Jupiter's great ellipse, Saturn's delicate rings, the comets that sweep in from the Oort cloud, all of them follow her score. The sleepy scientist's tone becomes serene. If you listen closely enough, gravity sounds like patience. Every orbit is a loop of trust. Planets forever falling toward her, forever missing her, forever circling in devotion. This is the music of the sun, not sound, but balance. Every 11 years, her magnetic field reverses. Every 26 days, she turns once on her axis. Every second, her gravity writes another note. In the silent symphony of space, even you, sitting here under her light, are part of that pattern. Every breath you take is synchronized with forces older than human memory. When you watch the sunrise, you are witnessing geometry, made emotional, a planet spinning, a star pulling, and light threading between them like silk. And in that balance, you find something deeper, a quiet proof that order and beauty can exist in the same motion. But even as her gravity binds everything together, it also reaches beyond, pulling at things we cannot see, tracing invisible lines through the galaxy itself. Though she seems fixed in your sky, the sun is never still. She races through space at nearly 828,000 kilometers per hour, carrying her planets in a great celestial caravan. Our solar system orbits the center of the Milky Way, completing one revolution every 230 million years. That means the last time we were here, dinosaurs were just beginning to roam the Earth. The sleepy scientist smiles through the quiet. You're not just spinning, you're sailing. As she travels, the sun moves through waves of interstellar gas and dust. Her magnetic field, the heliosphere, wraps around the solar system like a protective cocoon, shielding it from cosmic radiation and guiding the charged particles that stream through space. Behind her, she leaves a faint wake, a tail of solar wind, stretching for billions of kilometers, like the contrail of a golden ship. Sometimes she passes through denser regions of space, where galactic dust presses against her shield, changing the shape of that cocoon. Sometimes she sails through quieter waters, where starlight drifts without resistance. To imagine it properly, you must let go of the picture of a static universe. There is no stillness here. The sun is moving, the galaxy is spinning, and even the universe itself is expanding outward. Like breath, every photon that reaches you was born in a body that is never in the same place twice. Every sunrise is light that has crossed millions of kilometers to meet you at just this moment. The intersection of time, gravity, and motion. So when you lift your face to the light, you are greeting a traveler that has been moving forever, carrying everything you've ever known through a universe of endless migration. And yet, in that vast motion, the sun remains constant, a point of steadiness, in a galaxy that never stops changing. To the human eye, the sun's light seems simple, golden, white, serene. But that brightness you see is not a single color. It is all colors woven together into unity. Every sunrise and sunset is a prism unfolding. When her light enters Earth's atmosphere, air and dust scatter the shorter blue wavelengths, letting the longer reds and oranges bloom across the horizon. That's why dawn glows warm, and twilight sighs in amber and rose. The sleepy scientist's voice dips low. Light is only color, remembering how to separate. If you could see beyond your own eyes, you would find hidden layers in her brilliance. Ultraviolet, infrared, radio, X-ray, gamma. Each tells a different story of her heart. Ultraviolet brings energy to the upper air, sparking ozone and heat. Infrared carries the warmth you feel on your skin. X-rays reveal the violence of her flares, and radio waves hum softly through the void, a whisper of her pulse. Together, they form a symphony, and the atmosphere acts as the concert hall, filtering, bending, blending, until only the safe and gentle parts remain. Even at noon, when light feels ordinary, you are bathed in a balance of invisible grace. When night comes, and that light disappears, your mind keeps its rhythm. The photons that touched your eyes still echo in your neurons, still pulse through your dreams. So, in every sunrise you watch, you're not just seeing the start of a day, you're watching light recompose itself, the visible poetry of a universe that never forgot how to sing. But sometimes, the sun's colors take new form, reflected not in air or water, but in the worlds she watches over, each painting her warmth in a different hue. Every planet in our solar system is a canvas, and the sun is the artist. Her light touches each world, but never the same way twice. On Mercury, the sunlight is blinding, 10 times brighter than what we feel on Earth. There are no clouds to soften it, no atmosphere to scatter it. It falls unbroken onto jagged rock, casting shadows as sharp as glass. When night comes, the heat flees instantly, leaving frost in the craters that never see dawn. A world of fire and silence, balanced between two extremes. On Venus, her light cannot touch the ground at all. It enters a world wrapped in mirrors, a thick golden haze of sulfuric acid clouds. Here, sunlight is filtered and trapped, turning warmth into suffocation. The planet glows, not with reflection, but with imprisonment, the beauty of a candle under glass. Then comes Earth, the lucky child of balance. Here, the sun's warmth meets oceans, forests, air. Her light diffuses into blues and greens, becoming breath, chlorophyll, and the laughter of waves. She doesn't just illuminate us, she sustains us. The sleepy scientist's voice grows soft, admiring. The same light Yet every world tells a different truth. On Mars, the sunlight turns pink. Fine dust in the atmosphere scatters the red wavelengths, making the horizon glow with an eternal sunset. Even at noon, the sky blushes softly, as if the planet itself were remembering warmth. Beyond that, the gas giants catch only fragments. Light so faint that shadows blur and fade. Saturn's rings shimmer like powdered ice, turning sunlight into halos. Neptune, farthest of all, holds her light like a secret. Muted, patient, a reflection that feels more like memory than touch. And yet, in every corner of this vast family, the sun's gift endures. Even when dimmed, even when distorted, her presence never truly leaves. But the sun's artistry doesn't end with light. She is also a sculptor, shaping the very motion and structure of every world she keeps. If you could see the solar system in motion, not as a diagram, but as it truly is, you would see a masterpiece of rhythm. Every planet, moon, and rock is locked in a subtle exchange between motion and attraction. They fall forever toward the sun, but never arrive. That falling becomes orbit, a perfect compromise between surrender and escape. The sun doesn't drag her planets. She balances them. Her pull gives shape to their freedom. Mercury circles her in 88 days, a rapid whisper of movement. Earth takes 365, a steady heartbeat of time. Neptune drifts far out, completing her circle in 165 years. Each orbit hums with its own tone, like strings of a cosmic instrument. The sleepy scientist hums faintly under breath. She is not only light, she is geometry. Even the smallest asteroid feels her guidance. Comets that wander from the edge of the Oort cloud are drawn inward, their icy bodies igniting as they approach her warmth, becoming brief, beautiful visitors, reminders that distance does not erase devotion. When two planets align, their gravitational notes harmonize. When one eclipses another, a brief silence falls. The orchestra pauses, then resumes. Every 11 years, her magnetic field resets, rebalancing this celestial symphony with the precision of a heartbeat. The solar system, for all its chaos and collisions, is kept alive by this pulse. You are living inside that rhythm. Your tides, your seasons, your sense of time itself are all written in her geometry. So even when you feel still, remember, you are moving, spinning, drifting gracefully through an invisible architecture of warmth and gravity. And far beyond the planets, past the reach of sunlight and orbit, the sun's influence continues, stretching out into the interstellar dark, like a farewell that never ends. There is a place where the sun's power fades, not into nothing, but into vastness. It's called the heliosphere, a giant bubble carved by her solar wind, enclosing all the planets, stretching more than 100 times farther than Earth's orbit. Inside it, her influence reigns. Outside it, the galaxy begins. The sleepy scientist's tone drops to a whisper. It's the edge of her breath. Within the heliosphere, her wind flows outward freely, a stream of charged particles, pushing against the thin gas of interstellar space. At the boundary, called the heliopause, her wind finally meets resistance, like the hush where two oceans touch. In 2012, NASA's Voyager 1 crossed that threshold. For the first time, a human-made object entered interstellar space, still powered by the sun, still whispering back across billions of kilometers. It carried her message. Light transformed into code, warmth turned into music. Even now, Voyager travels farther each day, past the faint echo of her wind, into the quiet beyond her reach. And yet, it still carries her charge, her fingerprint, her light. One day, the heliosphere will shift and fade, as all things do. But until then, it remains her final gesture, a vast, invisible boundary between home and the unknown. And as long as it exists, the solar system remains a cradle, rocked by the sun's unending exhale. But even as her power stretches outward, her story folds inward too, into art, belief, and memory, woven deep into the mind of humankind. Before science, before telescopes, before names for the planets, humanity already knew the Sunday, not as a sphere of plasma, but as a being, a mother, a god, a guardian, a mystery that rose each day and never failed. Every culture wrote her differently. To the Egyptians, she was Ra, the god who sailed across the sky in a golden barge by day and through the underworld by night. To the Greeks, she was Helios, a radiant charioteer guiding fiery horses. In Japan, she became Amaterasu, the divine weaver of light. To the Inca, Inti, father of kings and giver of crops. Even now, in your modern life, traces of that reverence remain, in words like Sunday, in symbols of halos and dawns, in the way light still feels sacred. When it touches water or skin, the sleepy scientist's tone turns reverent. Before we understood her, we worshipped her, and even now that we understand, we still do in quieter ways. Because the sun does not only sustain your body, she shapes your spirit. You feel her absence on cold days. You notice her return in spring. You seek her on holidays. You paint her in children's drawings. You rise and sleep to her pulse. The earliest humans may have feared her eclipses, but they also learned from them, predicting seasons, mapping time, building monuments like Stonehenge and the pyramids, aligned to her path. The sun was the first teacher of pattern, of order, of faith in repetition. And that lesson still endures. When the dawn glows on your curtains and you stir half awake, you are participating in the oldest ritual in existence, the ritual of light returning. But our reverence for her didn't fade with myth. It evolved into curiosity as humanity began to ask how her fire burns and what secrets it hides. For most of human history, people believed the sun was singular, a special flame made only for Earth. It was unthinkable that the stars above were suns too, each with their own worlds and warmth. Then came the revolution of understanding. Through Galileo's telescope, the sun was seen as imperfect, spotted, turbulent, alive. Later, Newton revealed that light itself could be split into color, proving that sunlight was not divine fire, but physical truth. And then, in the 19th century, scientists realized something profound. The sun was a star, one of hundreds of billions. In the Milky Way, alone, the sleepy scientist breathes this revelation like a sigh. We are not alone in brightness. The light that feels so personal is a common language across the cosmos. Every star burns through the same laws of fusion. Every photon obeys the same dance of energy and matter. Yet the realization didn't make the sun smaller. It made everything else larger. It meant that the warmth you feel is not a rare gift, but part of a pattern so immense that life might bloom again, somewhere else under some other light. In that realization, a new kind of wonder was born. Not worship, but kinship. The sun is no longer our goddess. She is our sister, our neighbor in a universe of infinite fires. And still, her light remains unique to us, filtered through our sky, softened by our seas, colored by our air. The same physics that governs the stars touches your skin each morning, whispering, "You are made of the same radiance." But knowing her nature didn't end our fascination. It deepened it. For when we finally learned what she was, we began to wonder how far her touch could reach. Every beam of sunlight you see is the end of a story, billions of years in the making. Deep in the sun's core, two hydrogen atoms fuse to form helium, releasing a burst of energy, a photon. That photon begins its long climb outward, but the path is not straight. It bounces billions of times. Each collision sends it veering in a new direction, like a spark caught in a storm of density. It can take 100,000 to 1 million years for that single photon to finally reach the surface and escape into space. And then, in just 8 minutes and 20 seconds, it travels 150 million kilometers to touch Earth. The sleepy scientist smiles in awe. 1 million years to leave, 8 minutes to arrive. When it reaches your world, it may warm a leaf, ignite a rainbow, or fall across a child's face. It might reflect off the sea, enter your eye, and become the color of memory. Then, in a few more moments, that same light will fade, absorbed, transformed, passed on as heat, or reflected back into the cosmos. Nothing is wasted. Every photon lives many lives. The next time sunlight touches your skin, pause. You are feeling something that began its journey before humankind existed. A traveler from the heart of the sun, crossing ages of matter and silence, to arrive just in time for you to notice it. And if you close your eyes then, you can almost feel the story. The warmth, not of fire, but of patience. And just as each photon carries warmth across space, so too does it carry information. The sun's way of speaking to the universe in light. If you could listen to light instead of see it, you'd hear the sun singing, not in sound, but in frequency, a chorus made of color. When sunlight is split through a prism, it fans out into a spectrum, a soft, endless gradient from violet to red. But look closer, and you'll see thin, dark lines interrupting that rainbow. Those are Fraunhofer lines, named after the scientist who first recorded them in 1814. Each line marks an element: hydrogen, helium, calcium, iron, atoms in the sun's atmosphere, absorbing certain wavelengths of light. They are fingerprints of the cosmos, etched across color. The sleepy scientist's voice is a murmur of wonder. She speaks in wavelengths, and we have finally learned to listen. By studying these lines, astronomers learned what the sun is made of, how hot she burns, how fast she spins. Light became language, and through that language, we found truth. Every star, when observed this way, reveals its identity, its age, its motion, its temperament. And yet, the sun's spectrum is unique, familiar like a heartbeat. It glows with the chemistry of home. When you see sunlight glint off water, that shimmer is a translation, photons bending, scattering, retelling the sun's story in your native tongue. The entire earth is a canvas painted by those frequencies. Chlorophyll absorbs red and blue, reflecting green. The sky filters blue from the rest, scattering it across your vision. Even the color of your skin, your eyes, your breath is a consequence of how your body converses with her light. The universe doesn't speak in words, but it speaks constantly through radiation, through rhythm, through reflection. And every beam of sunlight is the most eloquent sentence ever written. But there's another, subtler form of communication, not in color, but in pulse, as the sun's very surface hums with hidden music. You cannot hear it with your ears, but the sun sings. Her entire surface vibrates, quivering with sound waves, born from turbulence deep within her core. Each wave echoes through her layers, creating patterns of pressure and movement that astronomers have learned to interpret, a science called helioseismology. If her vibrations could be amplified, they would sound like the deep tolling of bells or the hum of a distant ocean inside a cathedral. The sleepy scientist's tone becomes nearly reverent. She hums in keys of heat and gravity. These oscillations allow scientists to peer into the sun's hidden heart, to map her density, her temperature, her slow internal currents. The sound waves move not through air, but through plasma, ripples of compression that circle her globe in endless repetition. Some last for minutes, others for hours. Together, they create a grand symphony of motion, a song of structure and balance. And while we can't hear her directly, NASA has translated her data into audible sound. It's haunting, a low, pulsing drone, steady as breath, soothing in its enormity. You can feel it more than hear it. A vibration beneath your ribs, a reminder that even silence is full of rhythm. Every heartbeat you feel right now, every inhale and exhale is its own echo of that solar music, a smaller resonance, mirroring the pulse of our star. Perhaps that's why the sun calms us, why light on skin feels like reassurance. Somewhere deep in our biology, we are still listening, but even her music has moments of silence. Those brief eclipses, when the sun disappears from sight, and the world remembers how fragile light can be. There are moments, rare and trembling, when the sun's face is covered, not by storm or cloud, but by geometry. An eclipse occurs, when the moon passes directly between Earth and the sun, casting a shadow that sweeps across our world. Like a slow, celestial blink, the air cools, birds grow quiet, colors change, as though reality itself pauses to exhale. The sleepy scientist's voice becomes barely above a whisper. For a few minutes, day remembers night. In that darkness, the sun's outer atmosphere, the corona, becomes visible, a crown of silver fire, spilling into the void. Its tendrils shimmer like silk threads, arching outward in ghostly elegance. Ancient people feared eclipses, believing dragons devoured the sun, or that gods turned away from the world. Today, we watch them in awe, understanding their mechanics, but still feeling their mystery, because Even when reason explains the shadow, something older in us remembers the awe. Our hearts still slow, our skin still chills. Our bodies remember that light is not guaranteed. And then the edge brightens, a diamond of brilliance forms, and daylight returns. The first rays after totality feel different than any other sunlight, as if the world has been reborn. Even the air hums anew. In those few minutes of shadow, we are reminded light is not endless, and therefore it is precious. And when the light returns, it does more than reveal the sky. It awakens every living thing on earth, each tied to her warmth in ways we are only beginning to understand. Every living thing that has ever existed on earth, every leaf, lung, fin, or feather, owes its being to the Sunday. Not metaphorically, literally. The warmth you feel when you step outside, the food you eat, the air you breathe, all trace their origin to the constant rain of energy falling from her light. Through photosynthesis, plants capture sunlight and transform it into sugar, binding energy into the architecture of life. From that single act, everything else follows. Animals eat the plants, predators eat the animals, and eventually, energy from the sun becomes thought, emotion, consciousness. The sleepy scientist's voice flows like a tide. You are sunlight that learned to think. The oxygen in your lungs was forged by this cycle. Every breath you take is borrowed from the work of leaves, from photons that once left the sun's core millennia ago. Even in the ocean's depths, where sunlight never touches, life still depends on her. Microbes feed on particles formed from dying plants and algae above. A slow cascade of energy, a chain of light turned into motion. Remove the sun, and in weeks, photosynthesis halts. In months, temperatures plunge. In years, oceans freeze, and all life fades. But she endures, and so do we. Every sunrise is renewal, not only for the planet, but for the cells that remember her pulse. When your eyes meet morning light, tiny receptors in your brain reset the rhythm of your body, aligning you once again with the breath of the world. Life, in all its diversity, is simply the story of matter, learning to dance with sunlight. But the sun doesn't only nurture, she also tests. Her heat, her storms, her distance, shape which worlds can live, and which remain barren. Earth exists in a miracle of placement. Not too close, not too far, a narrow region. Astronomers call the habitable zone, or more tenderly, the Goldilocks zone. Within this band, water can exist as liquid, the bridge between chemistry and life. Too near the sun, and oceans would boil. Too far, and they would freeze. We orbit at exactly the right distance, 150 million kilometers. For balance, that balance, fragile as it seems, has held for billions of years. The sleepy scientist speaks softly, as though describing a heartbeat. It's not luck, it's harmony. The Earth's atmosphere, its magnetic shield, its gentle tilt and spin, all conspire with sunlight to make warmth linger just long enough. A thin film of gases holds her energy, and the oceans absorb the excess, turning light into climate, and climate into rhythm. This equilibrium is delicate. Even slight changes, a stronger sun, a dimmer one, A shift in orbit could unmake it. Venus, only slightly closer to the Sun, is a furnace of carbon and pressure. Mars, a little farther, is frozen and thin, and between them, Earth glows blue. The single flame of moderation in a universe of extremes. When you feel the sun on your skin, you are feeling the precision of cosmic geometry, the silent, mathematical miracle that allows seas to shimmer and hearts to beat. If the sun were a little hotter or the earth a little smaller, you would not be here to wonder about it. So, when you breathe, you are participating in one of the universe's rarest equations, the right distance between fire and frost. And that balance between life and light is not unique to Earth, for wherever sunlight falls, the potential for life follows, even in places we once thought impossible. Every night sky is a map of possibilities. Each star you see, and the billions you can't, is another sun with its own worlds, its own warmth, its own chance to host something alive. Astronomers call these worlds exoplanets, planets orbiting other stars. So far, we've discovered over 5,000 of them, and every month, the number grows. Some are gas giants like Jupiter, some are rocky, Earth-sized, orbiting within their own Goldilocks zones. A few even circle stars, much like our own. Steady, yellow, patient. The sleepy scientist smiles. Every sunrise you see might have a twin you'll never meet. We can't yet visit them, but we can listen. By studying starlight, we can detect the faint dimming when a planet passes in front of its sunday. We can even analyze its atmosphere, looking for the same signs of life that mark our own. Oxygen, carbon dioxide, methane. In those flickers of data, we read echoes of ourselves, worlds where rain might fall, where oceans might gleam, where someone else might be looking back. The thought is humbling. Our sun, so central to our lives, is only one lantern among countless others. Her story is not singular, it is universal. Light, it seems, is not content to stay in one place. It seeds possibility wherever it travels, and life, as we know it, or as we can only imagine it, is its natural consequence. When you look at the night sky, you're not looking into darkness, you're looking into billions of different mornings. And somewhere, perhaps far beyond your reach, another being may be basking in its own sunrise, feeling what you feel now, the warmth of existence, the quiet miracle of being awake, beneath a star. And yet, even among all these stars, our sun has a secret distinction, a rhythm and relationship that make her unlike any other we've ever found. Most stars in the galaxy are not alone. They exist in pairs, binary systems, where two stars orbit a shared center of gravity, locked forever in a gravitational waltz. Some even live in trios or quartets, clusters of flame bound by mutual pull. Their light flickers in complexity, rising and dimming as one passes behind another. A cosmic dance of fire and shadow. But not our Sunday. She is solitary, a single star adrift in the dark sea of the Milky Way. The sleepy scientist's voice drifts in slow admiration. She could have had a twin, but she chose to sing alone. Why the sun stands alone is a question still whispered among scientists. Perhaps her companion was lost long ago, torn away by passing gravity. Perhaps she was born in a cloud that favored independence, Or, perhaps, her solitude was the very condition that allowed life to form. Binary stars can be unstable parents. Their shifting orbits would tear planets apart or toss them into space. But a single star, steady, balanced, patient, gives her worlds time to grow calm, to evolve, to dream. Because she stands alone, Earth has known stability. Because she does not share her orbit, the seasons repeat with fidelity, and life thrives in predictability. It is solitude that makes her benevolent, loneliness that gives us life. And in that way, our sun is both rare and kind, a star whose aloneness became a gift to everything orbiting her. But even as she spins in solitude, she is not truly alone, for her story is stitched into the grand fabric of the galaxy itself. The sun lives in a quiet suburb of the cosmos, not near the center, where stars crowd and collide, nor at the edge, where darkness reigns, but halfway between, in a spiral arm called Orion's Spur. It's a peaceful neighborhood, rich with gas and dust, calm enough for planets to form and keep their balance. Every 230 million years, the sun completes one orbit around the center of the Milky Way. That's one galactic year. In her lifetime, she has circled the galaxy 20 times. The sleepy scientist's voice flows like a map unfolding. We are passengers on a ship that doesn't know it's sailing. As she travels, the sun carries her planets through interstellar space, trailing the long, invisible tail of the heliosphere behind her. The stars we see each night are fellow travelers, neighbors, drifting in the same slow current, each with their own systems of worlds and moons. The galaxy itself is alive with motion. Stars orbit the center like dust around a whirlpool, and at the heart of it all, a supermassive black hole anchors the dance, a silent conductor pulling everything in slow, eternal spin. Even so, our place is serene. We are far enough from the center to escape chaos, close enough to feel the pull. It is this balance, the same balance that governs planets and atoms, that makes life possible. The next time you gaze up at the Milky Way, remember, you are not standing still. You are soaring with the sun, through a river of starlight, carried by gravity, cradled by vastness, and every point of light above you is another home, another sunrise, another story, in this endless, galactic sea. Yet even as she drifts through this cosmic spiral, the sun leaves a trail of invisible artistry, traces that tell us where she's been and what she's touched. As the sun moves through the galaxy, she leaves behind a subtle signature, a wake of charged particles and dust, like golden pollen scattered through the void. This trail, known as the heliotail, stretches for billions of kilometers, fanning outward like the tail of a comet. It is invisible to the eye, but spacecraft have traced its faint magnetic outline, confirming that the solar system glides through space like a luminous fish, swimming through cosmic water. The sleepy scientist's voice deepens into calm awe. Even stars leave footprints. This wake tells a story of solar winds that once raged more fiercely, of epochs when interstellar clouds pressed closer, of the gradual softening of the sun's breath as she aged into gentler years. As the solar system sails onward, this trail mixes with the galaxy's dust, a kind of cosmic compost where old light and new matter intertwine. Some of that dust may someday become part of another star, another planet, another home. Our sun, it seems, does not move silently. She writes her motion into the medium of the galaxy, a path of particles and memory. And somewhere far in the future, another civilization might detect this faint golden current and say, "There was once a star here. She passed this way. She carried life." Every photon that leaves her is a note in that long farewell. And still, she continues onward, steady as heartbeat, bright as beginning. But as she leaves her traces behind, she also gathers visitors, wanderers and intruders that drift into her kingdom from the dark beyond the heliosphere. Now and then, a stranger enters the sun's realm, a faint glimmer in the black, an ancient traveler of ice and memory. These are the comets, time capsules from the earliest days of the solar system, born in the frozen edges of space and drawn inward by the sun's gravity, their long white tails unfurling like silk ribbons in her warmth. The sleepy scientist's tone becomes hushed, almost tender. Every time a comet returns, it's as if the solar system remembers its youth. Comets are fragments left over from the cloud that birthed the sun and her planets. They spend most of their lives far beyond Pluto, in a vast region called the Oort cloud, a sphere of icy debris, a light year wide. But when one is nudged by passing stars or cosmic winds, it begins a long fall inward, spiraling toward the Sunday. As it nears her warmth, its surface vaporizes, forming a glowing coma, a mist of gas and dust that can stretch for millions of kilometers. Each comet's tail always points away from the sun, pushed by her solar wind. In that way, they carry both intimacy and distance, drawn close by gravity, yet forever repelled by light. And when their journeys end, they leave behind dust trails that Earth sometimes crosses, turning their remnants into meteor showers, tiny streaks of fire burning through our atmosphere, like whispers of cosmic memory. The next time you see a shooting star, you are watching sunlight made visible, matter returning home to light. But the sun welcomes not only icy wanderers, she also interacts with invisible visitors, streams of dark matter and cosmic rays that pass through her body like ghosts. All across the universe, particles travel at near light speed, remnants of supernovas, black hole flares, and ancient explosions. These are cosmic rays, tiny fragments of energy that drift endlessly through space. When they reach the solar system, most are deflected by the sun's magnetic field, pushed away by her constant breath of solar wind. She is our shield, a guardian against radiation that could strip away atmospheres and damage the delicate machinery of life. The sleepy scientist's voice carries a quiet pride. She guards us, even from what we cannot see. Still, some cosmic rays slip through. They strike Earth's atmosphere, creating cascades of secondary particles that shimmer faintly through the upper air. They are silent, but ever-present, an invisible rain that has fallen for billions of years. Even now, scientists study how the sun's mood affects this storm of the unseen. During solar maximum, when her magnetic field is strong and active, fewer cosmic rays reach Earth. During solar minimum, her protection weakens and more of them pass through. Our climate, our atmosphere, even the rate at which clouds form, are all touched by this exchange between light and darkness. The sun does not banish danger entirely. she moderates it. Her presence transforms chaos into rhythm. If the galaxy is a sea of invisible currents, then our sun is the lighthouse, a warm beacon that bends the unseen tide, keeping her planets safe within the glow of her magnetic grace. But her protection isn't perfect, and sometimes the things that slip through her shield tell stories of where she came from and what still lies beyond. Before the sun, there were others, older stars that lived, burned, and died, long before our solar system ever formed. They forged heavy elements, iron, carbon, gold, in their cores. And when they exploded as supernovas, they scattered those elements into the galaxy. The cloud that gave birth to our sun was rich with that stardust. When it collapsed, that material became part of her, and part of everything she made. The sleepy scientist whispers, "We are second-generation light." That's why, when we study sunlight, we see traces of those elder stars. The sun carries their signatures, the spectral fingerprints of elements, forged in ancient fire. In this way, every photon she emits is a continuation of that older light, an inheritance passed from one generation of stars to the next. When you hold a piece of gold, you are holding the ashes of a supernova. When you breathe oxygen, you inhale the breath of stars that lived and died billions of years before the sun existed. Even the carbon in your body, the foundation of every thought, every heartbeat, every dream, was once inside a star. The sun is not a beginning. She is a continuation, a new verse in an ancient song that began long before Earth and will continue long after us. So when you see her rise tomorrow, know that you are not just watching a sunrise. You are watching the galaxy remember itself, and the story she carries does not stay locked in her light. For the sun also speaks through her children, especially the one blue world that learned to look back. The sun's light doesn't end at the planets. It echoes. Earth, in her own quiet way, reflects that gift, scattering sunlight into the cosmos, announcing her existence in a shimmer of blue and white. From the moon or Mars, Earth shines brighter than any other planet, a living jewel, reflecting about 30% of the sun's light. Astronomers call this albedo, a measure of reflectivity, and ours is unlike any other. The sleepy scientist speaks with quiet affection. She sends her light to us, and we send it back, colored by oceans and clouds. That reflection is not just beauty, it is balance. The sun warms us, and our albedo keeps that warmth in check. Too reflective, and we would freeze. Too dark, and we would burn. Even now, tiny shifts in ice and cloud change the planet's response. A dialogue of temperature, a long conversation between giver and receiver. Sometimes, the moon joins in, casting sunlight back to us as moonlight, softened by grey dust, transformed into silver calm. In that light, you are still seeing the sun, but through the gentleness of reflection, the warmth tamed into poetry. And when you stand beneath a full moon, bathed in its faint glow, you are standing inside a triangle of light, sun to earth to moon and back again. It's a geometry of intimacy, a quiet circuit of radiance that binds these worlds together. Every night, Earth glimmers faintly in return, the earth shine that touches the moon's dark side, a dim echo of daylight, traveling through space and back again. Light, it seems, never travels alone. It always finds its way home. But there's another kind of reflection, not from seas or clouds, but from within us, the way the sun shapes our mood, our memories, our very sense of time. The sun doesn't just sustain the body, it shapes the soul. Every human being carries an ancient memory of her rhythm. When light floods your eyes at dawn, your brain releases serotonin, the chemical of alertness, clarity, and joy. When she sets, melatonin begins its slow drift, calling you towards sleep. Even before clocks, our ancestors rose and rested to her song. Time itself began with her. The sleepy scientist's voice falls into a calm cadence. Light isn't just seen, it's felt. Too little sunlight, and the mind wilts. A quiet sorrow called seasonal affective disorder. Too much, and we crave shade. Balance, as always, is the truest warmth. In art, light has always been language. Painters chase it, poets describe it, photographers trap it. Every word for joy, glow, shine, radiance, borrows from her vocabulary. She defines color, mood, and metaphor. She is the line between despair and dawn. Even in grief, we find ourselves turning to the horizon, waiting for morning. Not because the light changes the world, but because it changes how we see it. Light tells the brain that life continues, that the dark is not final. So when you open your curtains in the morning and feel that first beam on your face, you are participating in a therapy as old as the planet itself. That glow across your eyelids is medicine. It doesn't demand, it reminds. You are built to wake in warmth. And as light heals the heart, it also fuels the body, right down to the chemistry of cells that still remember the sun's original fire. Inside every living cell, tiny engines hum, mitochondria, descendants of ancient bacteria that once fed directly on sunlight. Billions of years ago, they were free beings, floating in the primordial seas, absorbing energy from the environment. Over time, they joined forces with early cells, forming a partnership so perfect that it became permanent. Now, inside you, these micro-beings burn the food you eat and turn it into usable energy, a process called cellular respiration. It is, in essence, a mirror of what the sun began. The sleepy scientist murmurs like a lullaby. The sun gives light, and your cells remember how to burn. The energy that keeps you alive is not new. It's sunlight transformed, captured first by plants, then transferred through life, until it finds its way into your bloodstream. Every heartbeat, every thought, every dream is powered by that same ancestral flame. Even the chemical reactions that power your emotions and senses follow rhythms of light and darkness, encoded deep in your DNA. So when you close your eyes and feel warmth on your skin, you're not just absorbing light, you're syncing with your origins. You are sunlight slowed down, made tangible, made tender. The sun is not separate from you. She is within you, in every flicker of life, in every breath, in every quiet moment. You remember to be alive. And as her fire lives in you, so too do her echoes reach outward through the machines we've built, to follow her, study her, and one day, perhaps, carry her story beyond the stars. From the first sundials carved in stone to the telescopes orbiting above our sky, humankind has never stopped watching the Sunday. We built our earliest calendars by her rise and fall, aligned temples and pyramids to her path, and planted crops by her turning shadows. In a way, civilization itself was born from the rhythm of her light. Now, our eyes are no longer bound to Earth. We have sent sentinels into space, crafts that orbit and study her flame, without burning beneath it. The sleepy scientist's voice carries pride and peace. We are the first creatures to hold a mirror to our own star. NASA's Solar and Heliospheric Observatory, SOHO, launched in 1995, has watched her surface for decades, capturing storms and flares, and the delicate breathing of her corona. Parker Solar Probe flies even closer, closer than any spacecraft before it, dipping into the edge of her atmosphere, brushing the solar wind, to feel her pulse directly. Each mission listens differently. Some watch her magnetic fields, others measure the dance of plasma. Some translate her vibrations into music, so we can hear her hum. Together, they form a conversation, the sun speaking, and humanity learning her language in data and light. Through them, we have seen solar flares the size of planets, loops of plasma that could engulf worlds, and quiet regions so vast they could hold 1,000 Earths in shadow. And yet, amid all that violence, we've learned her steadiness too, the tender cycles that give us climate, seasons, time. She remains unknowable, yet intimate, a star we live beside and within. But as we study her from afar, we also learn that her reach extends much farther, touching worlds she cannot see and spaces she will never warm. Not every world born in her gravity stayed. Some were cast away in the early chaos of formation, flung into cold exile by collisions and chance. Astronomers call them rogue planets, worlds without stars, drifting through interstellar night. They were once part of suns like ours, but something broke the symmetry, and they were released. The sleepy scientist's tone falls to a hush. They carry her memory, even when they no longer feel her warmth. A few might have been born near the sun herself, before being scattered outward by Jupiter's pull. Their orbits became unstable, their light lost. Now they wander, dark, cold, their surfaces frozen solid. And yet, even in that silence, traces of sunlight remain. Tiny radioactive elements inside them still glow faintly, a fading ember of their origin. Perhaps, in another eon, they'll drift close to a new star and find warmth again. Nothing in the universe truly disappears. It only changes homes. In a way, these lost worlds remind us of impermanence, that even gravity's embrace is not forever. Still, the sun continues her creation, sending comets, asteroids, and particles of light outward, each carrying her mark. To be born of her is to be luminous, no matter where you go. But not all of her children are silent. One, in particular, learned to look back, to build machines and stories, and to speak her light into language. Among all the worlds she warmed, only one awoke. On that small blue planet, bathed in balanced light, molecules learn to copy themselves, then to breathe, to see, to dream. Billions of years later, those dreams became curiosity, and curiosity became science. The sleepy scientist speaks gently, with pride. We are sunlight that became self-aware. Every creature that turns toward warmth, that opens to dawn, that stretches toward brightness, is reenacting the first gesture of life. Plants learn to eat light, Animals learned to move in it. Humans learned to name it. We harnessed her power, turning sunlight into fire, then electricity, then knowledge. Our cities gleam with her reflection. Our satellites orbit her rhythm. Our entire civilization is synchronized to her clock. And yet, for all our technology, our relationship with her remains personal. When sunlight touches skin, we don't just feel energy, we feel belonging. We are descendants of light, each cell humming with her gift. Every thought you've ever had was powered by her warmth. You are a flicker of the same fire. So when you watch the sunset and the sky drifts from gold to indigo, you are witnessing your own reflection. A species that rose from photons, learning, slowly, to remember its source. And as we remember, we begin to give back, catching her light again, this time by choice, not survival. For billions of years, we only received. But now, for the first time, humanity has learned to harvest the sun's gift directly. Every panel of blue glass you see shimmering on rooftops is a small mirror of gratitude, a device that turns light into motion, warmth into power, sunrise into electricity. This is photovoltaics, the art of converting sunlight into current. When photons strike silicon, they knock electrons free, and those electrons begin to flow. A current of pure sunlight, streaming through wires, lighting homes, powering thoughts. The sleepy scientist's tone is calm and reverent. We are learning not just to use her fire, but to understand it. Every solar farm you've ever seen, sprawling across desert plains or floating on calm reservoirs, is a field of captured dawns. The energy once scattered in the atmosphere is now woven into human industry, into cities and circuits, into the quiet hum of progress. And yet, the lesson remains gentle. The sun gives without asking. She burns, not for profit or control, but because it is her nature to shine. To follow that example is to remember balance, to take only what is offered, and to give back through awareness. The sunlight that powers your screen, your voice, your dreams tonight, is the same light that grew forests, fueled oceans, and warmed the first human heart. When humanity finally looked up and saw not a god, but a partner, we became stewards of her gift. And one day, we may carry that partnership beyond this world, taking her warmth with us, to new homes beneath unfamiliar skies. Someday, our descendants may leave Earth behind, not in rejection, but in continuation. And when they go, they will take the sun with them, not the star herself, but her memory, her light, her warmth, her pattern of life. Spaceships may one day sail on solar sails, vast mirrors that catch her photons, like wind in cloth, drifting outward on pure radiation. No fuel, no fire, just sunlight pushing gently through eternity. The sleepy scientist breathes out slowly. Even her light becomes a path. We will carry her fire to the moons of Jupiter, to the shadows of Saturn, to other systems beyond. And wherever that light is caught, there will be warmth and life and story. Perhaps on some distant world, a colony will mark its first sunrise under an alien sky, a smaller, cooler star, and someone will whisper, "This reminds me of home," for that is what the sun will become, a memory shared across generations, a symbol of where we began. In the endless dark of the cosmos, she is our first hearth, our compass, our proof that warmth is possible, even in the coldest expanse. And so, when we go, we will not be leaving her. We will be extending her reach. But even if we journey far, our hearts will remain tied to her glow. For she is not just our past, but our pulse. There is a reason the human pulse mirrors rhythm. It is ancient mimicry, our bodies echoing the steady patterns that govern the sun's own fluctuations. Her heartbeat is measured in cycles, magnetic reversals, every 11 years, flares and lulls, waves of radiation that breathe in and out, like a cosmic lung. And we, the children of that rhythm, carry its cadence inside us. Our hearts beat in waves, our breaths follow oscillations, our lives rise and fall in light and rest, just as she burns and softens in her own time. The sleepy scientist's voice is near a whisper now, as if speaking from within the bloodstream of the universe. Your pulse is her language, translated into flesh. Every storm in your chest, every calm after sorrow, mirrors her cycles. A reminder that energy never disappears, only changes shape. We are not merely influenced by the sun. We are built in her image. Our rhythms are small reflections of a grander beat that sustains galaxies. And when your heart slows as you fall asleep, you join her quiet phase, the night side of the star within you. Even in darkness, the rhythm continues. Even in silence, there is pulse. To exist is to vibrate, to hum softly with inherited light. And when one day her own heartbeat ceases, that rhythm will not vanish, for her atoms and ours will become new notes in the next great song of the universe. Every star has a lifespan, and even she, the great sustainer of life, will one day grow weary. In about 5 billion years, the sun will exhaust the hydrogen in her core, the fuel that has burned with steady devotion since before Earth was born. When that happens, she will begin to change. Her core will contract, growing hotter and denser, while her outer layers swell and cool, expanding until she becomes a red giant, a vast, glowing lantern, so large that Mercury, and perhaps even Venus, will be swallowed whole. The sleepy scientist's tone is neither fearful nor sad, only reverent, as one might speak of an elder's final years. She will not die in anger. She will bloom. Her light will redden. Her heat will drift farther into space, and Earth's oceans will boil away. Yet in this grand transformation, she will continue to give. The heavier elements forged in her final breath will scatter into the galaxy, becoming the seeds for new stars, new planets, new forms of life. Death, in the language of stars, is only translation. When she finally sheds her outer layers, only her core will remain. A white dwarf, small as Earth, but unimaginably dense, glowing softly for trillions of years. A silent ember in the dark. She will no longer warm planets, but she will still shine. A ghost of her former self, a whisper of all that once was. And in that quiet glow, somewhere across the void, a new sun will rise. For stars are not lost, they are recycled. Their endings are beginnings. So even her fading is an act of creation. And long before that distant sunset, another light will still burn brightly, not in the sky, but in us, Long after the sun's fire is gone, her story will continue. In the dust of new worlds, in the rhythm of galaxies, and in the faint glow of memory that hums through everything she ever touched. Because every photon she released is still traveling outward, even now, a wave of golden memory, moving through eternity. Some of those photons left the sun billions of years ago and have not yet reached the edge of her influence. They are still out there, lighting comets, warming the icy backs of wandering asteroids, sliding between galaxies, carrying her warmth to places she never knew existed. The sleepy scientist breathes in softly, as though inhaling starlight itself. Her light will outlive her, and perhaps, when the universe is old and dim, when galaxies are ghosts, and stars are only whispers, some tiny civilization, around some quiet remnant of a sun, will detect a faint, golden pulse of radiation and wonder where it came from. They will trace it back and find that it came from here, from this small star, in a forgotten corner of a spiral arm, once home to a blue planet, where life looked up, dreamed, and remembered its maker. In that moment, the sun will live again, not as fire, but as legacy, and her children, you, me, everyone who ever basked in her warmth, will still exist in her story, woven into the stardust that travels on. The sun does not vanish. She becomes everything. Light is never lost. It only changes hands. And now, as the night settles around you, you can feel her warmth receding, not disappearing, but softening into the memory of day. There is a quiet rhythm in the room. The world outside slows. The air, once edged with sound, becomes a lullaby of stillness. You can almost hear the sun resting, her voice faint, her breath gentle, like the tide pulling back from the shore. Every sunrise you've ever seen, every afternoon that glowed through glass, every evening that fell gold upon your face, all of them return now, as echoes in your body. The sleepy scientist speaks one last time, a whisper in the language of light. You have always been her reflection. Your pulse, steady and quiet, beats in time with her fusion. The warmth in your chest is her smallest flame. Even your dreams tonight will flicker with her glow. For billions of years, she has burned in silence, sending her light across emptiness, so that this moment, you, breathing, resting, listening, could exist. Every cell of you is a little archive of her generosity. Every exhale, a soft return of borrowed energy. Let yourself feel that ancient connection now, the light that began in her core. 100,000 years ago, the photon that bounced from atom to atom, before escaping her surface, traveling through space, through air, through glass, and finally, resting on your skin. That same photon may have touched oceans, passed through leaves, glimmered on snow, and crossed the eyes of countless others, before finding you. In its tiny journey, it has carried the story of everything, and in return, you breathe it out as warmth, sending it back to the dark, a little changed, shaped by thought, colored by life. This is what it means to belong to light. Not ownership, not worship, but participation. You are part of the great exchange. Light into life, life into warmth, warmth back into night. Outside, the stars continue their slow, endless dance. They, too, are suns, distant, patient, eternal. Each one burns a story of its own. But tonight, we rest in the one that gave us home. Let the rhythm of the universe soften your breath. Inhale the memory of morning. Exhale into the safety of dark. No need to hold on to thought now. No need to solve or plan. Just drift. The sun will rise again tomorrow. She always does. Even when clouds cover her, she remains. Steady, unwavering, waiting to be seen. Her fire does not fade when unseen. It rests, just as you do now, and as your thoughts grow light, you can imagine the sun turning slowly in the great black sea of space. A glowing heart, spinning endlessly, sending warmth across billions of miles, to everyone and everything that still listens for her voice. Her light has touched oceans, moons, dust, and dreams. It will outlive every name, every sound, every story. Yet somehow, you are part of it. You are the calm at the center of her storm, the reflection of her warmth in fragile flesh, the dream of a star that learned to rest. And as the last echoes of her warmth settle over you, you can let your thoughts drift with her, beyond the day, beyond the noise, beyond the edges of wakefulness, until all that remains is light, soft and unhurried, folding gently into sleep. And as the stars continue their slow, endless dance, you can let your thoughts drift with them, fading gently into the quiet of sleep.